Okay.
Okay, good. Roll call. We need quorum of 3. So, Grace, are you here?
Yes, here.
And then Mary Lou.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, and Philip Neher. So the approval of the last minutes. I propose to approve. Anybody to second?
I'll second it.
Okay, then we will vote on it. Grace,
Aye.
Mary Lou,
Aye.
and I from myself too. So it's 3-0. Call to the audience. Anything on the agenda beyond what we saw on the agenda?
We did not receive any.
Okay. Then reviews. The first one is 746 South Osborne. It's a garage addition, a guest house addition, renovation of existing carriage house, courtesy review, contributing resource, estimated time 30 minutes. Okay, who's presenting for that one?
That's me, Roman Signs.
Okay. Do you have you seem to be in a car? So it will be maybe hard for you to present something. In this case, Jody, can you pull up the drawing so that we can follow as Roman talks about the project?
Sure. Give me a second.
Just so we look at the same thing.
Do you have a particular one that you want me to pull up first, Roman?
Well, we can look at the site plan first.
Okay. It's taken a little bit to load, sorry.
I have a question on this one as I was reviewing it. Jody, you have seen all the documents, obviously, and you have discussed those with Roman in the previously.
Sorry. 1, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. 2, what was your question again? I'm sorry.
How far has the city reviewed this project?
They have not.
Okay.
Because it's a courtesy review, so they're just coming in to
I'm just
kind of
trying
get
to understand because there's obviously missing a lot of documentation that we would require for a proper review, but we'll get through that. So Roman, please go ahead.
So the site plan shows, I have keynote number 3, which is the existing home. And then if you look over at keynote number 1, that's the attached 2-car garage and the ADU.
The 2 is the ADU.
I'm sorry, say that again.
What is number 2?
2 is the existing carriage house.
So for clarification on this property, 2 is an existing Adobe that's considered a contributing resource. It used to be part of, what was that? 18th Street, something like that. Which is down here. So that's the property that had the demolition without a permit where they only left the front facade. And so they split the lot, they built here, and then this is new construction. And then this was this remaining Adobe building that is a contributing resource.
So the hatch doesn't tell me now what's existing versus what's new, right? Only 2 is existing.
Only 2, well, 3 is existing, but it's new construction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's the one we had approved it a while ago.
Yeah, and then 2 is existing historic construction. 1 is the new stuff that they're proposing.
So if you go to the as-built sheet 2, it's clarified.
Sorry, why does this always pop down like that?
Yes.
I think that's this one.
Is that what you call the demo plan?
Is that what you're looking at, the demo plan?
As built demo, yeah.
So what do you want us to look at here?
If you go to sheet 3, that's the proposal.
Called plan, I think.
This one. Correct, this one?
Yeah, that's it.
And are we looking here, I see number 2 is on the right, right? Is that number 2? The carriage house?
Yes,
Okay, is that like a site plan where it's positioned in the proper distance to on the site? I mean, it's hard to tell because of missing here the property line, but is that its position relative to the new construction?
yes.
Okay.
That's 6'7" away or so.
Must be more, no? And the zoning allows for this, Jody, the full ADU with a kitchenette?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
because ADUs are now allowed within the city, throughout the city. I mean, they still have to, in the HPZs, they still have to go through the review process,
Right.
but they are allowed.
And then the garage is new construction too, on this plan.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the garage has 2 openings. One, I mean, it's like a tandem garage where you can drive in from 2 sides. Is that correct?
Correct.
And where can we see a bit on the roof forms of these structures, the heights and so on, their relationship to the carriage house?
I don't know that I submitted. Oh, yeah, they're there. So the roof heights on the ADU and the garage are the same height as the existing house.
Mm-hmm. And then where do I see the carriage house on this?
Elevation sheet there on the right. Sheet 8.
Yeah. So elevation E, B, C, and D are all the carriage house?
Yes.
So the carriage house, yeah, has a carriage garage. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and the homeowner wants to remodel that from a carriage house into a pool room. It's adjacent to a swimming pool.
And does that mean it has any, are there changes to the elevation?
Yes, so it's in pretty bad shape. Doesn't have a roof, no slab, and it's getting worse every day. He wants to surround the entire building with masonry.
How do you mean surround?
What
I
do you
thought
mean
it
by
is a masonry
surrounded?
building, yeah.
Well, shore it up with new walls around it.
Oh,
Oh,
and keep the adobe walls on the interior exposed behind glass. Put a new roof on top of it.
okay. Would the elevation stay the same? I mean, obviously, the building would get wider because of that, but would you change any of the fenestration, door openings, garage openings?
So, the windows, no, there's one on the north window we have to close because we're within 3 foot. So we need to make it. Okay, so there's 3 windows. There's north, east, and west. And the north window would need to be sealed up because it's on the property line pretty much. Well, it's close to the property line, within 3 feet. So we would seal that up and
Close it.
fire rate it.
How do you mean seal up? What do you mean with that?
Well, I just finished saying that the homeowner wants to surround it with CMU block.
So you would be eliminating it on the elevation.
On the outside. On the exterior, yes.
And I look at elevation E, that's the north elevation that you were referring to. And it seems that has a garage door.
That opening's already there and it's gonna be.
Yeah, so that opening is already there.
That's
and
the opening to
That
the carriage.
that's gonna remain.
That was the original opening to the carriage, to allow the carriage to be parked.
Yeah, that's where the carriage drove in and out.
Looking at the floor plan, that's the south elevation, right?
See, I don't see, I mean, if you page up, I can't see the rest of the drawing.
There's no page up option. You submitted everything as separate PDFs, so that's how I had to load them.
Oh, okay.
Which is why I'm scrolling through these.
Okay, let me,
But if this is your site plan and it's oriented correctly, then yes, this is south side.
okay,
Right.
so then it must be mislabeled.
No, it's not.
No?
No, no, you stand there, you're looking north.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Same as the site plan.
Yeah, if you are standing in front of the building and you're looking north, then you're looking at the south elevation. That's a drawing convention. And the north elevation you see standing in front of the building looking south.
Okay, so then the north elevation has a window and that window will be sealed up.
Yeah, which currently is labeled south elevation, right?
It's
Well, you
labeled
call it
rear, I
side
think.
elevation, but which one is it then?
I think it's B.
B, yeah, must be B because of the length, right? Okay,
Roman, did you want to talk about your exterior materials, your windows and doors? This is your opportunity to present it and get some feedback instead of the board members asking questions.
Yeah, so each of the 3 elevations will match the existing home. Wood windows in the carriage house, double hung. What else? Same in the ADU. Everything would match the existing home. Colors, finishes, materials.
It's not on there.
what's the construction method?
Construction is CMU with smooth stucco,
It's open to match.
and that's to match. Paint to match, same colors. One thing we don't have on the plans is awnings over the ADU doors. The exterior doors on the west elevation.
Are those sliding glass doors?
On the
West
east
elevation?
elevation. Yes, they are.
Yep.
Which is the east elevation, just so.
Okay, on the rear elevation, you've got sliding windows as well.
Yeah, that's what's on the existing home. I mean, we're open to putting in double hung if that's what's preferred.
Just a quick clarification, when we say rear elevation, that's facing interior to the courtyard, so the sliders are on the street side, 11th Avenue.
Yeah,
Okay.
No, the sliders are gonna be on the interior of the property facing east.
Osborne. It's the east elevation, Grace.
Okay.
So direction Osborne. Okay, any other questions?
So we must put that glass garage door.
Materiality on the garage doors, what are you envisioning?
I'm sorry, say that again.
The material of garage doors?
So on the carriage house, that door would be glass. So something you would see, be able to see through.
Mhm.
It's a garage door.
Garage door with glass. The other two for the garage, did we talk about the material for that?
Sure is open to whatever.
On the tandem garage, we'd be open to whatever was recommended for material and aesthetic.
And when you say glass, then it's like steel frames and glass infill? And
Yes.
it's a rolling gate, or what is it? Is it?
Rolling, yes, rolls up and into the structure.
So it's little segments of glass frames, of frames and glass windows.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's what it is, but not for that one. To match the store neighborhood.
Okay, shall we go through it? Grace, any comments?
I was trying to find some information because I wasn't on the board when the previous house was approved, so just looking at what that looks like. The sliders were something that we had previously approved.
Grace, I can barely hear you.
You can't hear me. I'm sorry.
Doesn't matter if we wouldn't have, you know?
Right, that's what I was,
Yeah.
that was my question was
And
there some
We can't
circumstance?
trace now in the moment if they were approved and built per plans, or if this is maybe not built per plans. We can't.
There was a lot of that not built to plan, I think.
Understood.
You're talking about the existing home?
Yes.
Okay, I can provide photos if that helps.
Verify that in the moment, but yeah, we would consider this to be evaluated on the site or any other contributing reference. Okay, anybody, Marilu, Grayson?
Door, sliding doors, sliding windows, no, is out of character. I don't care if it's interior or if it is interior. We look at all the elevations. And I'm really not sure what, in the relationship to the Adobe, surrounding it with concrete,
CMU blocks.
CMU block.
yeah.
It's either that or knock it down because you can't build on top of it. It's not structurally sound.
I'm not sure what that will do to the Adobe in relationship to preservation.
Well, it'll save it from falling down.
Explain to them.
It's in rough shape. It's being
Yeah, it's
undercut.
been in rough shape for a long time.
Preserve it or just wipe it out.
You might want to contact with an Adobe specialist on the Adobe and what you can do to maintain it. There's been a number of houses within the Barrio Historico HBZ that have been in rough shape and they've restored the Adobe.
Mhm.
Yeah, we just had a homeowner on Main doing a nice job on a existing Adobe structure.
Can we have the address?
Can't remember. I don't know the address.
Well, Diane Keaton's old house was one of them. That was in
Yeah,
pretty
that
rough
was-
shape.
Desolate shade, yeah.
Pasquale. Is that what you're talking about?
Did it have a roof?
I didn't at one time.
No,
Okay.
but there's Adobe specialists that deal with historic Adobe that you might want to contact.
Yeah, I think before we evaluate if this is a good solution, we would need more documentation on the existing structure and see your best effort and documentation that you have tried to preserve it and restore it before we can approve more radical measure like the one you're proposing.
Okay. So how does this work? I go back, I revise my plan, change my drawings, and then sit down with you all again for another review?
Yeah, look, you're gonna get a series of recommendations. This is an informal review, so we're not gonna vote on it. We're gonna give you a series of tasks or recommendations of what we would do in order to bring it to the next to a subsequent meeting. And you can choose if you bring it in for another courtesy review or if you want to bring it for vote at that point. But we're gonna give you now a list of things that we have concerns about. One is, as you heard about already, documentation. We're missing a lot of documentation. We're missing information on the existing structure. We need photos of that, of its, of how it looks in order to be able to evaluate if what you're proposing is actually justified. Also to see if it's rightfully documented. I think also in the drawings, they need improvement in terms of relationship of the historic structure to the new structure. The way these elevations are laid out, we would want to see on the north elevations, both structures at the same time, so that we can evaluate how they relate to each other.
Okay.
And then if you are changing anything on an elevation like you do by eliminating a window, and I'm assuming you're saying it's closer than 3 feet to the property line, which it's hard to evaluate at the moment, when you're mentioning fire code, but because that would trigger fire code eventually. Then you would have to show us that, and you would have to show us the condition before and the condition that you're proposing, the existing elevation and the new elevation. We have to see both.
Okay,
Garage doors basically need to not look like garage doors, especially
Yeah.
in the neighborhood. We've tried really hard to find ways to deal with the garage door issue.
Do like a barn door or
I
something.
understand it's an opening for a carriage. But glass in a historic building like that is not this character of that building, even in as tough a shape as it is.
okay, so like something like wood or like a barn style door is what you're after?
Correct. Something that would reflect the historic character. If you can find images of the old garage door, that would help. We're not saying you have to replicate it or so,
And then
but it has to be, in character.
What if they proposed French doors? Would you be okay with French doors?
Yeah, I think from my side, yeah. For the garage, yeah.
Yeah, for that
Yeah,
particular,
French doors is fine.
for
Yeah,
that particular opening.
yeah. But would it be 2 or
sod.
series of them? How wide is that
Arch,
opening?
9 foot.
What, 6 feet?
9 feet
The garage is 9 feet, the garage opening?
for the carriage house?
Yeah.
Carriage house. Carriage house. 8 foot for the carriage.
8 feet.
Uh-huh.
2-car garage.
Okay, makes sense.
So
Yeah,
you're
2
saying that,
4-foot wide
uh,
ones, that works.
The garage door is 8 foot. The 2-car.
the carriage house opening, you'd be okay with French doors there?
They're saying to make custom.
Grace or Mary Lou, would you have any concerns about that?
Ask them about this one though.
French doors, if that works, or a barn style door.
Obviously, they want to get in light, that's their concern.
Or yeah,
So,
if light is what you need, then I'd say French doors.
yeah, I agree. But wooden French doors,
Okay, and then on the actual garage, what are we looking for there?
again, I think Mary Lou's description was good. Make a garage door look not like a garage door, make it look like a gate or,
And
know.
can the actual garage door be behind something that hides, can I make a facade to hide an actual garage door?
Not sure what you mean. You mean 2 doors?
Yes, like some kind of a slider that covers a garage door so that it seals the building.
Look, if you put 2 doors in front of each other, we would look at the outer door, right?
Right.
Yeah, provide us a design then for an outer door. Yeah. I don't know why you would need two layers. If you had, let's say, a gate, single or double panel gate, let's say vertical wood boards or so, then why would you need another garage door behind? You can make that mechanized too.
Okay.
I'm going to be honest. Is 11th, is that like an alley, Grace, in that location? I can't fully picture it at the moment.
It looks like a decent sized street, but they're that it's a facility behind, so it's not super residential.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
Tucson water.
the west side of the property faces the Tucson Water Building.
yeah.
Mhm.
The plan had allowed for putting the garage there exclusively. That would have been obviously nice, so to not overload your main elevation on Osborne. I know, obviously you have already a garage door there, but it's not facing the street fully. And that also means that, you're putting a driveway in there all across the property, right?
No, it's just for opening up to deliver groceries, personal effects into the yard. They're not going to be driving across their yard.
Why does it then need to have the proportions of a garage door? Why can't you just make it look like a door?
We can. We can.
Okay. I think that would be preferred because garage doors are very rare, and I think you have precedent here, so I think you could justify it because of the carriage house, but it's rather special.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, they don't intend to drive in onto the,
You can anyways. 'Cause you're-
they're not driving
pretty
past
close
that garage door. It's just,
okay.
yeah. Okay.
So yeah, if you could reconsider that, I think that would be good. In terms of relationship of the buildings with each other, seems you're matching heights with the existing and with the historic, so that we would be fine with that. Your window proportions are almost all okay. The little door there is a bit unusual, but it's not out of proportion. Why is that a bit smaller than the others? It's quaint, but
Which one are we talking?
you call it the north elevation, but it can't be because you don't have a setback on north elevation. Must be the south elevation then.
Oh, some of the man doors, the garage.
Oh, yeah, that's the man door to the garage,
Is that the one
facing south.
It's the south elevation of that garage building. Mhm. And then it seems you have square windows. Normally they should be in proportion with the nice double hungs that you have on the historic structure.
Okay.
Sliding glass doors could be French doors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you see rather separate French doors in order to stay in proportion with doors, Mary Lou? Or are you fine with having these double French doors?
Double French doors is fine.
Okay, I agree. One of them is too close to the property line and you have a fire code issue most likely. It has to be 3 feet away on the east elevation of your new structure. And are you gonna get, you're gonna get a waiver of the setback? Is that something we can give at 1 foot? Jody, we can, right?
Yeah, I think you guys have done it in the past.
Yeah.
You don't give it now, you give it when,
Yeah, so Roman, for that, please put the neighboring structures on the properties. I think that would, if you're creating hardship for your neighbor, then, it would be hard to approve from our side, the 1 foot setback, which we can. If we don't approve it, you have to go through the Board of Adjustment. So just show us what's going on with your neighbors there. If there's a structure there and if it has windows to that side or doors.
Okay.
What's the north elevation looking like for that new structure? That's just blank?
Yes. Mhm.
Jody?
what?
How would the fire code apply if they don't remove the window on the north side of the existing structure? But
I,
they're putting in a new window, then does that have then to be rated, I assume, and comply with code, or what's the
Uh,
height
I
there?
would think so, since it doesn't exist right now. I would have to check, though. I can't tell you
It
definitively.
exists. There is a window on the north side of the existing building that they are,
There's an opening.
yeah.
So, I don't remember the exact number of hours, but if it's within 3 feet of a property line, it has to have a certain fire rating. So I believe it's 2 hour, but I'm not positive on that. You'd want to check.
Yeah. So that it's just an opening, you're saying, Jody, but if they're putting in a new window, then they would have to comply.
But I can check on,
Yeah,
And then what about going with wood windows? How does that affect fire rating?
it's just the assembly has to comply with whatever rating you need. There's wood windows that do. There's also some that then you might have to do an aluminum with a wood outside.
Yeah, you might have to do like a wood clad,
Yeah.
and it comes down to like a safety glass. The fire glass is probably what's more critical in the fire rating. But if you talk to a door and window company, they should be able to guide you to get something that meets the standard.
Okay,
Also, I threw something in the chat. Eric Means is a contractor here in town. He does a lot of work with Adobe, and I put his phone number and name in the chat on the side if you wanted to reach out to him to ask questions about Adobe construction. He's really good.
okay, I saw that. Thank you.
thanks, Rachel.
You're welcome.
It seems you wouldn't have to eliminate that window, we would always prefer that.
Okay,
You're showing something like a base at the existing building. What is that in the drawings?
are we talking about the ADU or the carriage house?
The historic existing.
They both have it.
Yeah, I know they're adopting it then, but first we want to know what it is on the historic, right?
Is it your weep screen?
Well, it's TMU, so it's just a line delineating.
Oh, so that would be the line to delineate the CMU that we proposed,
So you're showing the concrete
yeah,
foundation, concrete. Okay, because there it would be a stem wall, because in your drawings that's a new wall. So if you didn't put the this new CMU wall around the historic Adobe structure, what would be the relationship of that structure to the ground? Would the stucco just go in the ground, or is there a stone base to that Adobe building, or what's its foundation and stem wall looking like?
So we're not sure.
it hasn't really been exposed, so I couldn't answer that
Okay.
honestly right now, but my guess is that it has something under there, some type of footing.
Yeah. So from the outside, it just looks like the stucco hitting the ground.
Yeah.
And then how is it on the new existing structure? How's that detail? So
Monolithic
That's a monolithic slab
with the CMU walls there on top of it.
with the CMU wall.
and then you can see the monolithic slab on the outside as let's say a concrete foundation.
Well, if they don't want to.
Yeah.
Stop all the way down.
The stucco doesn't touch the ground.
No, not on the
Okay.
not on the new structure.
And you're proposing the same on the new ADU.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that would be fine from my side. A nice detail.
Okay.
So the ADU is CMU as well, and then furred out on the inside.
Yes.
Okay, anything else?
No, the only other thing I was thinking is we got like 3 of these drawings, and I see you referenced sections and a bunch of other things called out here. So if we could just get the full set in the future, that would be really helpful.
Okay.
Okay, do we need to summarize the comments or did you take notes?
I did take notes. A summary would help. I don't know if that's too much to ask, but yeah, this is my first rodeo, so
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, you did well so far. Let's so first of all, is the drawing set is incomplete. That was, I'm not going to go into details, but we mentioned some. Then your application set is incomplete. We need to see things like the neighboring structures in this case, and we need to see roof forms.
Development zone.
Exactly, development zone. Jody will be able to, normally it's the city will point you in the right direction because we wouldn't review it unless it's complete. But we just want to mention that to connect with the city for completeness. There's a checklist that you can get.
When you submit for your formal review, you'll have to provide all that documentation.
okay.
Do you want me to go through the summary, Philippe, or do you have it all memorized, what you said?
I wrote 2, but I think it's better you go because that's going to be in the minute already, right?
Okay, so documentation for submittal. Drawing should show the relationship of structures and how they relate to each other. Changing openings on an elevation, you should show, if you're doing that, you should show the existing and the proposed elevations. The garage doors should not look like garage doors. A glass garage door is not in character for the building, the carriage house building. It could look like a gate or something along those lines, barn doors. French doors or barn style doors on the carriage house would be acceptable. Square windows should be in proportion with the historic, which are more akin to the double hung, so they're taller than they are wider. Sliding glass doors should be French doors. If you're requesting a waiver for a setback, show what's going on with the neighbors. So you want to show on your site plans how the neighbors are utilizing their sites so they can understand the impact. Let's see. Prefer that the window on the carriage house be maintained. You should check on the fire requirements. And then
The garage door to the east.
Yeah.
Replace that with a normal door, building entry door.
And now when you talk about how the neighbors are utilizing their site, is that just the north neighbors?
Well, we want to show a complete site plan with the 2 neighbors, north and south on there, the volumes, so we can get it. One thing we haven't discussed yet, and that's because you have not provided us with a development zone plan. We couldn't comment on the massing of the buildings on site. You're clustering quite a lot here, and you're attaching a garage to a building and then a building to a garage. And there's some weird, the garage sticks out, things like that. And maybe if you go to the site plan, Jody, and we didn't comment on that because we can't relate it. That might be a tough sell once you show us the full development zone. So when you now look at it, when you start creating the plan of the development zone and you see, look, all the ADUs, they have a more loose connection with the main house, or there's never a garage sticking out like that. Then I would strongly reconsider, because that will come up in the next review.
So what do we do?
That refers to what we call the massing. If you go through the UDC, you will see massing is one of the items in a formal review that we have to consider.
Yeah. Okay, I think one reason it was designed this way was for parking, where I have keynote number 4. To accommodate the ADU. Can that be changed to street parking?
Which street?
11th.
11th?
Yeah,
I think one thing when we're talking about this garage layout is, and you'll have to double check with the UDC, but they generally require 18 feet in front of the garage from the street. So if you pull up to the garage door, you're not hanging out into the street. So I anticipate that footprint is going to change as you go through this Tucson, development plan services review.
okay.
But from,
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah, go
from
ahead.
can you do street parking? I guess that goes back to them as well. And from our perspective, we don't have a problem with street parking, I think, right?
Correct. But look, we need to see, I mean, if there's no garage going onto that thing, no structure, then this will be a hard sell. If we see there's a line somewhere here and it's not at 18 feet with the others, with your neighbors, then we would say, yes, you can put the building here, This really has to be evaluated in terms of its context. And to make it harder in terms of its historic context, meaning contributing structures.
Okay.
I think the other thing that's missing from us contextually is the pool, if you guys know where that's going, because we referenced the carriage house becoming a pool house, but the question about whether or not you can drive through the garage, I think would be solved by understanding where the pool is.
Yeah, we'll add some information on that.
Yeah, we can add info on that. The pool is located, closer to keynote number 8,
Got it.
on that side of the property, but yeah, I'll add that in.
But if you're intending of putting walls up, then also they need historic review. Along the property line or around the pool. So include those so you don't have to come back just for the wall,
Everything's already existing on that.
Okay.
And then Jody, in your breakdown, and I'm not sure if I just missed it, did you include the CMU around the carriage house being not a preferred method for?
No, I have it in here, but it was earlier in my notes. Sorry, I'm on like page 5 of my notes. But yes,
Is that a deny or more? We have to hear from them. See if there's a specialist, so if it's
So if I speak to the person that Rachel recommended and they say that there's no salvaging, that it needs to be shored up better, or, I mean, so then the CMU might be an option.
No.
I will also get you another person too, so you can get a second opinion.
Okay,
I'll send you an email later.
okay, perfect.
I will also send you one of the preservation briefs on Adobe that may be helpful to you.
Great.
I mean, it would look, we would have to see exactly what you're talking about, but people have restored ruins to proper buildings, you know. I mean, this is very precious, historic.
Although my buildings are outside of Barrio Historico and they are in an adjoining district,
Mm,
my lab, which was the original house, was condemned when I bought it.
mm. And now it looks beautiful. I mean,
Yes,
yeah, you
lots of
couldn't
work.
tell. Yeah.
Let's make peanut butter. It's going up. You will preserve it from the inside, but you'll be able to see all of it, right?
Were there any comments, other comments or questions? Did you guys want to move on?
I think we need to move on just time-wise. It was a lot, and it's up to Roman and Bobby if they want to come back for a courtesy review, which is fine. 2 is okay. Or if they want to, if you know, together with you, Jody, think they can complete the drawing so that we can make a full review.
Okay,
I think the massing is gonna be maybe something, even if you haven't finished the full design for us, that might be smart to come in for a courtesy review again.
That would be the one on July 12th.
That's the next, yeah, around there.
Okay,
If you're coming, it will happen.
all right,
Mhm.
great. Thanks for all your help.
for the record, it would be July 10th is their next available meeting.
Okay,
It's always the second Monday of the month.
okay. And then, so if I chose to jump on board for another courtesy review, at the same time, can I apply for the more formal?
I would probably wait until you're done with that courtesy review, because if they have additional comments, you're probably going to want to address them on your plans.
But the more documents you can prepare, the more feedback you will get, you know?
Yeah. Okay, thanks a lot, you guys.
Welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So who do we have here?
Yeah, that's Mama. My sitter had to leave. Ran a little longer than I was hoping, but that's okay. That's you, Jaja. Do you see you? That's not Jack. That's you. That's not brother.
Is Noel Hennessy the owner, Rachel?
Yeah, Noel.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, I'm on my bike riding home, so I will most likely just be able to listen, but I wanted to be here.
Hi, Noel. Drive safe or ride safe.
I will. Thank you. I'm hands-free.
Okay, good. Okay, should I jump in?
Yeah, go ahead, please, Rachel.
Okay. Let's see. Why is it not showing? Is that Jack? Okay. So real quick. Actually, I know, baby. Shh, shh, shh. So here is, are you guys able to see my screen okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's our site plan. The existing house we're looking at is right here. The development zone. Let me zoom in here. So we have the development zone. Again, existing house. These hatched buildings indicate contributing properties. That's not all we have on there to show. So I'm going to jump right to the narrative. Okay, so the existing house located at 500 South Convent has fallen into disrepair for a number of years before being purchased by the current owners. The existing cedar shake roof that was previously on the north, south, and east elevations. Sorry. Okay, there previously was cedar shake on the north, south, and east elevations, but the west face of the hip roof was burned in a fire. That fire damage was never fully repaired by the previous owner, and due to this, water was able to leak and penetrate the house, and this led to a large portion of the back wall on that west elevation failing essentially and crumbling down. You can see I have some photos attached of the existing. Here's that back wall. There's been some stucco repairs to keep the damage from extending further, but as you can see, there's kind of just a big flat shingles thrown on there, water damage seeped in on this back wall, and this whole middle portion of adobe had completely crumbled. And this is sort of a frame wall in its place in this middle area that we are proposing to fill in with masonry so that it will, you know, keep the integrity and the rest of the house intact. If I jump back over to floor plan, so you can see here, there's adobe walls that run down the middle and the edges of the house. And so this little section here in the middle is the part that was damaged. And so this is what we're proposing to replace with masonry so that further damage doesn't continue down the middle of the building. Jump back to the narrative. So we have a lot of things going on. Okay. So the existing adobe walls, anywhere where there's any damage right now, we'd like to replace with like material. All the exterior walls we patched and repaired with lime sand plaster to match the existing finish and then painted. We're also proposing to replace all of the double hung wood windows like for like, and we'd also like to add an additional window on the north elevation. These will all be replicas of the same. That window, the new window is going to match the existing ones exactly. Currently, there's a mix of brick, rowlock, and concrete sills at the windows, and we'd like to replace all of them with concrete so they can be consistent. The existing front and back doors all need to be replaced, and we're proposing to add a transom to the back doors. Right now, they don't have transoms, and these will all be wood with painted trim to match. Let's see. So the new masonry wall at the west end of the original, so the new masonry wall at the west end is going to rest on the historic stone for, oh my gosh, I can't speak. The original historic stone and mortar foundation with a new concrete foundation and stem wall just outside the original footprint to lend stability and provide a footing for a new west porch that we're proposing. The new porch will have a central concrete stair flanked by 2 pairs of tube steel columns, and the porch will have a skirting of corrugated metal to match the new roof that we're proposing to. We're going to be doing Trex decking on the flooring and wood decking at the ceiling. We'd also like to add a little trash enclosure at the north end of the porch, constructed of tube steel and corrugated metal to match the existing other site work. Let's see, we're also proposing to do a site wall indicated here that will also be masonry, stuccoed, smooth finish to enclose this yard. So this is the existing site plan. We also would like to replace, there's some wood columns with a lot of ornamentation at the front that we just don't feel, they're obviously not historic. We don't feel like they really fit in. So at that time, when we're repairing all the roof and switching over to corrugated metal, we'd like to also switch these columns out to tube steel, which is what we're proposing for the new porch at the back, as well as a tube steel column porch. Let me jump over. Here's the elevations. This hatch right here indicates that portion of the adobe wall that's completely melted that we want to replace with masonry, CMU. And we have a section here that shows the stone, the historic stone foundation with a concrete cap on top of that to hold that masonry wall in the center. And then this is that stem wall that I was talking about just outside of that historic foundation that's going to hold up the porch so that it's not going to put any extra weight or pressure on that stone wall except for sort of the same sort of weight that it was already holding. And then we're proposing a concrete stair to access that because the site has quite a bit of fall as we move back, as we move west along the site. There's also, so we're also proposing to put some skylight, or not skylights, sorry, solar panels on the, and I realized I didn't get them on this plan and I need to add them. And I believe that was a comment from City of Tucson too. They'll be going on the west and south elevations. So they're not visible from, there's sort of a little alley here between these two houses and you can kind of see that facade, whereas these ones kind of butt up next to each other. So that south facade and that west facade, the solar panels won't be visible from the street. There's some existing skylights, as you can see, and we plan on just replacing and where they land like for like. There's kind of one in each of the main spaces of the house. I think that covers it.
Rachel, I think your solar panels actually have to be done through a separate process.
I think yes, they will be under a separate permit for the actual like solar panel design, but I thought the historic could be done, like they could be approved through historic now. Is that not the case?
That's typically not the case. They when you submit for the solar design, then it comes back through for a minor review with
Got it. Okay, then should I remove them from my set of drawings altogether?
Yeah.
Okay, I can do that.
I mean, you don't have to do that right this second, but I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple comments from the city about they wanted some information on wall height and things like that. So I have an edit that will go in, and so I can remove the solar panels then too.
But I have a question there, Jody. I have reviewed solar panels in a minor review. Wouldn't it be like?
That's what I'm saying. It's a minor review.
But if she includes it already now, then she doesn't need to do the minor review.
But she has to, it's the way the permit is set up. So she actually isn't submitting. She's going to end up submitting for the permit separately for the solar. And
yeah, because I haven't designed like the wattage and all that. That's way over my
yeah. And so when she submits for that permit, that will trigger the solar review. So right now it's not fully designed, and then there'll be a minor review at that point.
Okay. That makes sense. I think my baby just walked out the front door. Hang on.
Yeah, go ahead. So what can we say about the solar panels, Jody? What I mean,
I would just say that if you, in your motion, then I would just say something like the solar panels need to be returned for a minor review.
But can
they're not fully designed yet.
Yeah, but can we make a recommendation on the direction or a comment?
I mean, I would just keep your comment general, like to the extent possible, they shouldn't be visible from the right of way or something like that.
Right. Okay.
I'm back, if anyone.
Rachel, were you done with your presentation?
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else. So if there's any questions.
I have a question about why is it that you're instead of doing the restoration or the stabilization with Adobe, why are you going to the CMU?
I think a big part of that, so if we look at this,
Is this because of the porch?
it's because of the porch, but it's also because of the existing doors that are here. We don't really have a lot of material that would be above the transoms that we're proposing. And so we felt like a masonry connection here, since this adobe was sort of be floating on its own. Adobe really wants to be corners. And since it would just be sort of these little fly walls of adobe out here, we felt masonry would be a stronger connection for one, the porch, and for the integrity of this portion of the wall to not fail in the future.
So you're saying because you're changing from a header to a transom,
Yeah,
that you think triggers the need for a CMU?
yes, yeah. And we just want it to be a strong connection going forward.
Why do you need that transom? I mean, it's underneath pergola, right? It's not.
It
that
is,
high
there's
from-
just not a ton of light.
Uh-huh.
Let me go back to the floor plan. really
And are you
quick.
keeping the historic doors there or?
No, they were burned up.
Oh, okay.
They're all burnt up in that fire. There's just like plywood
Mm,
back there right now.
mm,
And so see the front of the house has these transoms, and so we kind of want to copy that at the back.
mhm.
Let me go
That
back.
that has transom plus a header.
Yeah, there's a little bit more room. And so, if this section here, so this is sort of the section right here that we're talking about building out of masonry. Because I'm just worried if this was adobe, this little piece on its own just wouldn't have the stability that we would want it to have. So that's why we were proposing a masonry section in there.
I live in a house where they did that and I have huge problems with cracks. But if you have it engineered and everything, maybe you're fine, but mixing those construction methods is difficult.
Yeah, we've worked with an engineer that he designed a bond beam that kind of goes across this whole piece to ties all of them together. And that's on the, let's see. Roof framing. Yeah, so there'll be a bond beam that comes across
A concrete or wood bond?
wood,
Oh, okay.
wood, and it's epoxy doweled into the adobe. We've actually done it on a couple houses,
Yeah,
adobe houses in the area, and one up on North Main. So
yeah, I really wonder why you would need a CMU in that case, but yeah.
I think maybe part of it, talking with the contractor, excuse me, was that we're going to be having masonry. There's a lot of masonry going on already with the CMU. And so bringing in another trade and having to connect, because we have this little section here of existing adobe, and we'd really have to get into tearing up a lot of that to tooth it in a really positive connection. And I think we were just trying to find the best way to support that roof without it failing and the new porch.
Mm. It's one of the advantages of Adobe that this tie-in works so well.
I think we were trying to also just minimize work done on the interior for the owners. So here's that bond beam. There's a glue lamp bond beam, and then just a masonry one where the doors are. And then up here, this is how it ties into the existing adobe walls beyond.
So these concrete sills that you're mentioning, you're saying you're gonna replace all them to make them look consistent. Is that, did I understand that right?
Yeah, there's sort of a mix right now in the existing house of concrete and brick. So
Okay.
there's so you can see here, if we have concrete, then we have brick, then we have brick,
Mhm.
and then there's kind of a blend all over.
Mhm.
And they don't have enough of that brick to repair all of them, and so they'd
Mhm.
rather just do concrete to have them be consistent.
Would
when they
that
rep-
be a precast element and then you set it in, or what's the thinking there?
I think this contractor that I work with, he usually does a cast in place concrete sill, so that will be, I mean, they're all these openings are a little bit different, a little bit,
Mhm.
you know, a little bit, it's adobe, so it's
And
gonna
that
all
would
have a
be
little bit, yeah, so they'll be
lush?
cast in place.
Flush with the stucco, or what's the?
I know, so they'll be really similar to this one here. The existing one here that kind of just protrudes just a little bit, slopes a good positive slope down. You can kind of see it on my elevation. I didn't do a section of it. But so we'll have sort of that sloping piece and then that flat front piece.
Mhm. And the tube steel, is
Mhm.
that raw steel or painted?
Materiality, I mean, I don't remember if we decided if it was going to be painted or not. I think color wise, we're trying to figure out clear coat. Here we go. We did make that decision. So yeah, so this is what those existing porch columns look like, and they're pretty ornate and kind of strange.
No, that's pretty common.
Yeah,
Right, but I don't believe it's historic though. I think they're
Yeah,
something that
it
was.
is.
Are they really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we learned something new.
I have some very similar ones at my office.
Okay, yeah, and then they have like kind of this like half sliced engaged one. But I was looking and found examples of just less ornate columns. Let's see. Like here, they're just wood. And so we're kind of copying that dimension, but doing it out of steel. So they'll have longevity and not be a maintenance issue. So.
they've been holding up for quite a while, no?
Yeah, I'm gonna say,
Well, the ones on this house are completely rotten at the top and the bottom and destroyed with like damage, water and pests. So
Mhm.
these ones need to be replaced. And so we want to fit something that would match the back porch that we're proposing.
mm,
The solar panels,
Mhm.
what's driving the amount of them, and would there be a way to find a more calm layout?
I mean, that's possible. I was just trying to fit as many as I could on there, but I think that will come down to which is probably why it's not part of my review, as Jody mentioned, that it will get designed by a solar company and they'll figure out the sizing and placement for what the needs of the family are.
So if it's visible from the street?
It should not be. So this is the front elevation, the street elevation is the east. And so we're not proposing any panels there. They would just be on the west elevation of the back and the south elevation, which is, abutting this house right here. So they're very much sort of concealed from the public right of way. They would be along these two facades here.
By the way, quick comment here. I don't think your development zone is that big. This would be.
Is it not the block and across the street?
Sorry, it's the block and, yeah, not the full block, just the street.
Oh, it's just the street.
Yeah.
Okay.
In this
Okay.
case, because you're an in-block property.
Okay. Okay, good to know. Good news is most of the pictures I pulled were all off of convents.
Mm. Okay, any other questions? I mean, for me, it's the adobe wall that you're placing with the masonry, but I don't, it obviously is one of those things that make you cringe. Same on the wooden columns versus the steel columns.
Yep, that was.
It's
be a
really,
cringe
but
too.
yeah, it's a shame that, but if they are not usable, then I don't think what you're proposing is wrong. It's just, I think there could have been another commitment too. But it's not wrong,
So I'll just butt in on those columns on the front, per the Secretary of the Interior standards, you replace in kind.
Yep.
Okay, I mean, we would prefer the steel. But if that is not going to be amenable to you all, then we could definitely switch to a wood. We would prefer not to have the ornamentation. It just, to me, feels really out of place with everything else in the house. It's not sort of gingerbready, in my opinion.
I would have concerns about you not replicating the ornamentation.
Okay.
Have we talked about the porch, the roof form of the new porch? It seems like we're going for a shed there instead of, I guess more of a hip roof.
Yes,
like the
we are
current porch.
proposing a shed roof rather than a hipped roof.
And in this section, it looks like we're removing part of the eave that would be underneath that new porch, like maybe the
Well,
porch is
so
coming in
all
a
of that
little
was damaged in a fire. So this is what is currently there. This whole back portion was damaged in a fire, and then water damage, which made the adobe all crumble in here. So you can see right here a little peek of how bad. Well, that's a really bad image, but you can see how much it's all deteriorated and fallen apart in there.
To tell, huh? Seems your transom is mostly driving that change, no?
Yeah, we are definitely seeking to get as much light as possible in this back space. If you look at basically this little hallway space doesn't have a window, and so we're trying to just get as much light into that as possible.
When I look at your door design, that could have more glass. I don't know if it would replace the transom, but it would definitely be in a better height for light. That's something to be considered.
Yeah, I think that's something that we could be open to, and the owners. I think the idea was we really wanted to kind of fall in line with.
Yeah, but then
sort
do
of
it and then
the
have
doors
the
here.
header and have the. Yeah. Understood. But your front door has the header and it has the transom.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the door is lower. I don't know what the difference is, but.
Mm-hmm.
And the same here on, Belane's house there, and yeah. Nobody has the transom all the way to the roof.
Mhm.
Yeah, these are all much taller, which is part of that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And why are you changing the geometry of the porch?
Well, there's no porch back here right now, so we're
Roof?
proposing.
No, on the front porch.
We're not changing the geometry. Of the front
Okay.
porch.
I thought that was the.
No.
No.
That one's
Yeah, I guess
still.
my question would be, is there, and maybe Mary can speak to this, like a merit to replacing that with the eave, all the way around and then coming in lower with that porch or doing some, from a preservation standpoint, I guess. I understand that it's not there now.
Yeah, I think, shed porches are pretty normal in this neighborhood. And so we felt like, a lot of the times there's something a little bit fancier up front, and we're going to maintain that shape up front. But then going to a simple shed roof in the back was sort of in line with the neighborhood's context.
Yeah, it's the relationship with the, historic eave and the new porch rather than the shape of the porch roof that I guess I'm hung up on.
Mhm.
I think the idea that we were following was sort of how the front porch and the existing house sort of is like, it looks sort of like one plane here, but it is two planes, but they meet kind of at that line. And so we were kind of trying to do this similar at the back. When you look at the back elevation, where am I? Here, so the eave comes past on the sides because we're not going to the full width.
Ah, you're breaking it here. That's what you're talking about, huh, Grace? While here you're really matching the fold. Strange.
Yeah, we're not redoing anything up here except replacing the rotted columns. So we're keeping that roof shape and everything.
Because why do you have a guardrail there? Are you more than 30 inches?
Back here,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's almost 3 feet. There's a pretty serious drop, as you can see, as this comes across.
I mean, do you want to have this guardrail, or if you didn't have to do it, would you not do it?
If we didn't have to do it, we wouldn't. But there's a really, it's a large drop.
When you
So
say it's almost 3 feet, I mean, you can do 2.5 feet without a guardrail.
right. No,
It
it's
seems to be
over
close
that.
to it. Uh-huh.
It is close, but
You can always fill a bit.
it's would be a lot of fill for this yard. It's a pretty big space. We don't really want to.
You only need to fill here, and then a little bit, and then you can go down again. That normally does it to get around code.
Right.
Don't have to fill the full yard. Okay, shall we? Any other questions?
Are you restoring the chimneys?
Yes, they will be repaired and repointed. That's one of the keynotes. I don't remember here. Yeah, repoint and repair existing brick chimneys.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Number 15.
Okay, so do we there's, so we say that the wood columns per the interior standards would have to be replaced with the identical design, because this is restoration, Jody. That's just a,
That's in keeping with the Secretary of the Interior standards. You repair. It's not a matter of restoration. That's also in rehabilitation. You repair rather than replace. And if you have to replace, you want to replace in kind,
Yeah.
especially being that it's on the front facade.
Yeah.
If there's documentation, photo documentation that shows some other type of column existed, then we're happy to look at it.
okay.
Okay.
So that seems clear. I think Grace's point back there is a well taken one. This is really strange to cut into the eave line of the historic structure. It's not apparent why that really has to be done. I think either you match, like in the front, you take that line up and it's a continuous roof like in the front, or it's underneath. It's clearly distinguishable.
Okay.
And my question is really the transom. I mean, I understand the position on the, what's the Jody? Is there anything about the restoration in CMU versus in Adobe? I mean, that's a technical question more than anything, probably. But and CMU is allowed in terms of as a building material per our guidelines. So what's the, is there anything that the standards could guide us on?
I mean, ideally you're replacing with like material, but
Exactly.
given the location, it's on the back of the house, the material right there is already gone. I don't think it's all that hard and fast.
So I think it comes down to the transom. Your transom, how far, can you show us that sectional elevation? How far would it go up?
The section?
Yeah. So it really
So-
goes to the header. And how does that look? Is that a stuccoed header there?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
However, if you guys wanted us to bring this whole
Yes,
porch
that's
down,
exactly, that's where it comes.
it
yeah.
starts to basically change all of the structural work that's been done. Or
Not the
designed.
structural work, right? I mean,
Well, the structural work that's been designed so far.
Yeah.
So we'd have to completely reconfigure all of this to bring the roof line down. And I think it's not uncommon to have no,
I don't
we
think
have this
we're
shed
having a
roof.
problem with the shed. That's not the problem. It's how it's cutting into your roof. Look, this is very
Yeah,
well
so
done,
this one's
right?
below it, yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I think is a good solution. Especially
Yeah.
as you're bringing in a new element to an old structure.
Mhm.
Don't destroy the old structure with the new element.
Well, there's no new structure left. It was destroyed by the previous owners, so but yes, we can
Show that photo of the
rebuild.
back. There's still a
No, there's no, this was all destroyed. This whole back section
okay.
was destroyed
All
in a
the-
fire.
Hmm.
And then the water came in and melted all the adobe.
Hmm.
And so there was just like tarps and plywood thrown up here for a long time.
But that's a restoration then too. Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion?
Are we, is this a courtesy or is this a
No,
full?
this is a
blown-
full review.
Full review
Yeah.
with conditions?
We can if we want to, yeah. If you
Uh-huh.
want to make a motion, either way, I mean,
We need to make a motion with conditions.
yeah.
Or you can continue it. It's your prerogative.
I think there is, are we allowed to discuss those? Do we have to put up a motion before we can discuss the conditions? No, we have to first discuss the conditions and then we make the motion, or?
So you can, some of the groups, they kind of discuss what they're gonna put in the motion.
Okay, let's do that. Mary Lou, do you wanna, what do you
French
wanna
po-
put in the motion?
the front porch posts need to be duplicated.
Mhm.
Okay.
What else?
I think they need to consider losing the skylights at the back.
May I ask why?
And then bring the shed roof in under the new roof.
You mean the transoms or the skylights?
I'm sorry, the
Yeah, okay, that's what I
transoms,
meant. Yeah, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
sorry.
Are you saying the loose, well, if they can provide in a transom like in the front, that would be fine, right? I think
Yeah,
Yeah, we could do a smaller transom.
smaller transom, yeah, smaller door, smaller transom. Yeah. So are we saying to restore the old roof line in the back on the west side and put the new shed underneath? That would be the condition.
yeah,
No,
Okay.
the recommendation.
no.
So
I think-
then, sorry to interrupt. I have a quick question then. So we were proposing steel columns at the back. Can we still keep the steel columns at the back?
Yeah,
It's just the ones at the
we
front.
cannot, that's a approved material.
Mhm.
It's a new addition. Actually, in that case, because it's fully new, it would almost, the interior standards would ask you to make it distinguishable,
Right,
but
Okay.
still in character.
right.
This is where fake historicizing would come in. No,
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
Oh.
Was there anything else to discuss, or did you want to make the motion?
I think just for the solar panels, I would put in something like provide documentation that it is discrete from the street. And if it is visible, to provide a calm layout. You know, that
Or, I mean,
zigzag layout is tough, I think, for the street view.
yeah, there won't be any on
I
the
have
street view.
I have
but
a
if it's-
question, where's your heating and cooling going to go?
There's there'll be mini split units that are sort of in the alleyway over here. Yeah.
So
they're
we're
low
not
rise.
worried about stuff over the top of the roof?
No, nothing's going on the
Okay,
roof.
great. Thank
No.
you.
No, yeah, so here it is, in this little side alley yard thing here on the
Okay.
south.
Are you
There's-
closing that from the front, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a gate proposed at both ends of it. Here and here.
And that other gate stays as it is, or?
No, they'll build a new one. So we're proposing corrugated tube steel and corrugated metal gates to go at both ends.
On the north side too, or?
So on the north side, this gate is actually this one. We're going to repurpose it. There's actually two pieces to this. There's half of it's here and half of it's across the alley on this this access easement. And so we're going to shift that down to be at the back
Great.
here to reuse it. And then we'll do a little corrugated sliding gate here to hide the trash.
Mm-hmm. Good. So there's no gate in the alley or in the
No, there won't be a gate at the front anymore. No,
Oh,
it'll just be open.
any other condition?
I have a quick
Grace?
question before we move on the solar panels. I believe what Jody was saying and the comment I got back from the residential reviewer was that I should probably just remove those from my package altogether, as they would come back as their own review once they're completely sized and all that.
Okay.
So I think I would prefer to just take those out at this point.
Okay, so the condition, no comment, we wouldn't comment, the condition would be we don't comment on the solar panels if you take them out.
Yes, perfect.
They will come back to a minor review, so we will comment, but it's fine.
Yeah. Exactly.
Is that one of the minor reviews that we comment on or not, Jody?
What? You mean, yeah, you guys always provide comments in minor
Exactly,
reviews.
we do, yeah, that's what I think. Ah, on every? What is it then called when you just do it alone, you know, like changing materials on a roof that we don't get to review?
You do get to review it. You
Uh-huh.
always get to review it, but sometimes we can't get a volunteer. So
Uh-huh.
if we can't get a volunteer from Barrio, then we rely on PRS
Mhm.
volunteers or vice versa.
Okay. And revise one condition, revise the development zone, huh, just to. be correct.
Yes, yep, I have a note to fix that.
Okay. I think the others, what the other things you proposed seem fine. The new windows seem fine and all that, and you know, the sills, all that. It's good. So you want to make a motion? Marilu?
Oh, before you make that motion, I know you discussed the sills. Rachel, what were the windows? Were they wood on the exterior, or were they aluminum clad?
You said wood.
Wood windows.
Wood. Okay.
Yes.
West University allows clad.
Mm,
Barrio Historico does not.
Yeah, we wood doors and windows, wood. Yeah, it's all wood somewhere in here. Here we go. Double hung window, wood window replaced like for like.
Okay, just checking. For clarification, Rachel's on the West University advisory board.
Very
Just wanna
good.
bring that up.
Yeah, so they'll be replacing all of these like for like, and this is the new one that we're hoping to put in and replacing all of them. They're all double hung wood windows. And here's that wrought iron fence I was telling you about.
Hmm.
Our gate to be relocated.
Okay, so can we make the motion, Jody?
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
okay, I
Oh.
make a motion to approve with the conditions.
Is there a second?
Can we reread the conditions just to be sure that we have them?
Sure. Revise the development zone. The front porch posts should be replaced in kind. The shed roof at the rear should be placed under the eave and the roof line, the original roof line at the rear restored. Transoms at the rear should replicate those at the front. And then she's taking the solar panels out, so that really doesn't. It doesn't merit having a conversation about that.
Okay,
No.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Grace.
Okay, so we want to vote on the motion?
Sure.
Mary Lou,
Aye.
Grace,
Aye.
and I, Philip. That means motion passes 3-0 with the conditions.
Thank you so much for your time tonight, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks. Bye.
Let me see. What's the agenda item 5, design guidelines updated?
So I included that as an update because at the last meeting last week, Grace
That she
very
needed more
nicely
time.
stepped up and said she will edit.
But she said she needed more time. She didn't
she
want to
needed-
talk about it today.
No, she needed more time, but she was, I think, as I recall, she was going to provide like kind of maybe a timeline or when she expects to, because you guys were asking her about that. So
I did say that. And then I admit I didn't think too much about it. So I'm thinking I will split it up into sort of sections. Let me see. I'll shoot to have the first section of it done. Well, do you guys want to, would you just want to read it once it's all done, right? You already know what the sections look like.
You can send the sections too if you prefer. She can send that, right? Without us needing to have a meeting.
she can send it to me.
Yeah.
And I can send it to you.
Sounds good.
You prefer that, Grace? All good.
Yes.
It's easier for us to review. Okay.
Sorry, you froze up, so I have no idea what you just said.
Oh,
Yeah, Philip, we're having a little trouble hearing you.
I'm sorry. I can switch off my video. Maybe that's better. So what I said was no, sections is good, you know. Just like for you, it's easier that way.
Okay.
Let's put it this way. We'll check in again in the next meeting, right?
Yeah, for sure.
No, let's do it that way.
Thanks, Grace.
No pressure there. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Okay, staff updates.
I don't know if I told you, but we now have a new director.
Oh, wow.
An actual not interim director. Christina Swallow, she came to us from Nevada. She was previously the transportation director for the state of Nevada. And so when the governor didn't get reelected, she lost that position. She is from Arizona, from Tucson. She actually went to the U of A and has a fair amount of family down here. So she's just kind of coming back. She's just now started her second week with us. Pretty friendly.
What does she know about historic preservation?
She's learning by fire. So
Oh, good.
that's why you have, I mean, you have the subject matter experts. I don't ever expect a director to have, a ton of expertise in historic preservation because they're covering a lot of bases, zoning and entitlements and, advanced planning, Plan Tucson, all kinds of things. So that's really what the staff is for. To kind of inform, and then there's advisory boards and the PRS and everybody. So I expect that she will learn like most of the other directors have.
Okay.
And that's my only staff update.
Okay. So then we are ready to adjourn. Well, one question I have on Mitch. He knew that we had this meeting, or do we need to give him a special notice, or what's the
I-
deal?
I sent him, I updated to include him in the calendar invite that you all get. And then I sent him also, the link to everything just like you all get. And I think I had another email out there to him. So hopefully he's getting my emails.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, other than being late, I got your emails.
I was late too, Marilu, so don't worry.
And the city clerk had emailed him with
Yeah, I saw he was
information
on the
about it.
website.
Yeah. So I assume that it's the
Okay.
first one.
We'll see. Now, he owes us. No, just so okay, adjournment. I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Grace,
Aye.
Mary Lou,
Aye.
and I for me. Meeting adjourned at 6 p.m. Wow.
Okay,
Thanks, everybody.
thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.